Our salespeople are the backbone of our business.
100%.
They're the ones generating the revenue. They're the ones who are going to drive the business. There are ambassadors out there, and you're asking them to do what?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Challenging the Fifth Level. My name is Luis.
I'm David.
And welcome back. Today, David, what is grinding your wheel?
What's grinding my gears? I've been in sales my whole life, 30 plus years in sales. I am so tired of business owners who think we're not only chief bottle washer, we'll do cleaning the floors, we'll do everything. It's an unrealistic expectation today, 2024. Expect your salesperson to do every part of the sales cycle perfectly.
Wait. Why?
Look, my personality, I'm a talker, I'm a presenter. Boy, can I present. I could talk, I can close. I'm going to cold call, I could do it. I hate it. I hate having to call or reach out to strangers in such a cold manner. But the second they're a little bit like at 5-10 degrees, like warmed it up a little bit, I could take off from there. So if I were to build a sales team around my talents, I'd want a guy or a person, I shouldn't say guy, a person who that individual would just cold call. But so many business owners expect salespeople to do it all.
Well, I think that they do expect, and I think that one of the misnomers of the industry is exactly that marketing is sales, that every sales rep is the same, that sales is, the whole life cycle of sales. And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges that we see right now. And I think I'm going to go on the side of the business owner and say that it's not just because they want it to be done all by one person. It's because they can't afford it to be done by multiple people.
Yeah, but that's a misnomer. I don't agree with that statement, because when they say, oh, we can't afford it, think of what you're losing. Think of what you're losing in this process. If I'm going to ask my person who's not really good at cold calling to take an hour a day, 2 hours a day to build their lists, make the phone calls, do the emails, do the follow-ups, whatever. 2 hours a day is how many hours a year have you lost in lack of productivity? That's ridiculous. I think that at 500 hours a year, because that's what it is, why not hire somebody? Externalize it, get an agency, get somebody, do it efficiently. Now, if I get the right qualified prospects through the proper lead generation, through the proper cold calling, my closer is better. They'll close more deals. They'll end up further ahead. But we think financially. The business owners, a lot of the business owners I've met, and I'm sure you've all done the same thing, they're not sales-oriented or minded or have had experience in sales. They're engineers, they're accountants, they're, whatever, but they're not sales. They haven't lived that sales cycle. So they think it's easy.
Well, yes, and that's going to be a subject of another episode. But you're absolutely right. I mean, listen, I'll echo what you're saying. I am a salesperson by need, not by desire.
Correct.
I believe myself to be a relationship builder rather than a cold caller. I have done it. I mean, I was a student once. I worked at a telemarketing business once. I would cold call people. I was also a computer salesperson, and I learned a lot of people skills by actually, talking one-on-one with people and trying to solve their needs rather than selling.
Well, wait a second. Stop for a second. Where did you learn that? Where did you learn that concept of understanding the customer's needs? Like, think about what you just said right there. Business owners aren't thinking that way. They're thinking, go sell. As salespeople, we have to think the strategy. We have to think of the pain points. We have to think of all these types of things. Who's helping us? Who's prepping us? Who's teaching us? You came in pre-trained in a way to these businesses and whatever. Who's doing that? How the expectation that a business owner hires a salesperson, they're fully trained, they're fully capable, they've got all the product or service knowledge possible, and I hear the words, just go sell.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You do need a little bit of training. I personally
I won't agree. You need real training.
I'm going to say little, but yes, you're absolutely right. I truly believe in shadowing, particularly. It's a good start, but there is a process that needs to be in place for you to knowledge transfer the specific role in sales. So I'll give you one of the things that I'm finding very interesting right now in the market. And it goes back to what you just said, that, hire specialty salespeople. Right now in the market in North America, and particularly in the United States, there's a lot of independent contractors that are working out there who, the minute you fill out a lead form, you get a call within 3 minutes. And it's because all these lead forms are going to people who are subcontracting their work to bigger companies. And I get calls all the time from different companies saying, hey, we'll lead gen, we'll put some ads online, we'll help you, we'll weed out the bad, and we'll send you the good, and then we'll only charge you for the lead that is, delivered.
Lovely business model.
It's a great business model, but then when you go down that rabbit hole, it's expensive. Like they're charging upwards of $150 to $300 per set appointment, and we're talking $300 for our Canadian viewers. And so that in itself is not a guaranteed sale. It's $200 for a lead that's at least on your calendar.
That in itself, is another one of those misnomers. And it's not like, oh yeah, I got an agency and I've dealt with these guys. Oh, it's a guaranteed sale. Oh, I get it. No, listen, cost of customer acquisition is one thing we don't talk about enough in business. And when it becomes too expensive, and I was at a place where the cost of customer acquisition was almost $1,000.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And we figured it out.
Were you guys at least going for drinks?
I wish, but I remember sitting with the CFO and we went through it, and I number crunched, and I said, how much is our cost of customer acquisition? And he went, $1,000. I almost had a heart attack. And the CEO looked at me and goes, what do we do? I said, well, we need to get better. This is ridiculous. And so, yeah, there are all these crazy methods and everybody promises you the star, the moon, and the sky. But here's the thing. You said specialty sales. It's not about specialty sales. First and foremost, and this is what I tell my clients, can you tell me your sales cycle? Essentially, talk to me from the very beginning until the very end. I want to know what happens in between. What are your expectations? What's going to happen? What are the stages? This is not because I want to put in a customer relationship management software, the CRM. I'm not interested in that. I want to understand the process. And then I look at the people and I say, they don't match. That is where there's a problem. You're going to have a hiccup somewhere. And I got a client right now where she's not a good closer. She's not a good closer. And she's like, I don't understand. She goes, the lead generation is bad.
Well, and that's the issue, that we're always going to get blamed. In the digital marketing space, so we had a client years ago that it was the same thing. We were sending maybe about, between 40 and 60 leads a day in a very, very competitive industry.
Yeah.
And
you and I have talked about this going.
We have. And
Talk about a real boss.
Well, yeah. And let me tell you, 40 to 60 leads in any market is pretty good. But the problem is you have to, call them almost immediately.
You have staffing. Start with the staff.
They had staffing. So they had 5-6 people just dedicated to this.
But they didn't have a playbook then. They didn't have an understanding.
They didn't follow the playbook.
Oh, okay.
They thought they knew better than the sales team. They thought they knew better than the marketing team that they were paying, over $20,000 a month for. And, we set them up with a whole system and a program, and then they weren't closing. And so the question is, why aren't we closing these conversions? And I said, well, hold on a second. You're getting the leads. But you're in a highly competitive space. How long do you take to get back to these people?
And
it was, I think, a day.
The fun
day is crazy in today's market.
It reminds me of when I was in the advertising business, and folks, that'll be another podcast. Please watch out for that one. We're going to talk about digital marketing. But I remember he was a furniture company.
Okay.
And I was the sales manager of this newspaper, and my salesperson said, the guy wants to see us. He's mad at us. Okay. Walk into his store and he says to me, your newspaper sucks. He used a more elaborate, colorful word. Let's put it that way. And I was like, thank you. How come? Don't use the word why. How come? And he said to me, I had all these people in the showroom and nobody bought. Closed my eyes and I went, repeat that, please. I had all these customers in the showroom and nobody bought. I said, let me tell you something. You have it backwards. We did our job perfectly. You have the wrong people on the floor.
Correct.
And so it's not about it's easy to blame that when they don't close, it's something beforehand screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I sit with my clients and I go, that's why I need a very, 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 very clear understanding of the sales cycle. And then we talk literally in detail what could happen. And that's when we talk about the word playbook, it's literally that. You know, it's like kind of like what happens in these so-called yes-no scenarios. What happens if, what ifs, all the way till the close. And what I find along the way often is, one, wrong people in the wrong place. Two, wrong process in the wrong place. And three, a lack of training in terms of contingencies. What ifs? These are back to my what ifs. Like if it's a straight line from beginning to end, right, everybody could do it. What happens if something happens? What do you do? And so the business owners are just expecting it to magically appear. Now, I don't blame business owners because they themselves may have started the business. They sold themselves. You know, they made the first few sales and whatever. And when you're the business owner, the entrepreneur, your message is unique. My company, my business,
My reputation.
my reputation, whatever. The moment you hand that to a salesperson, a third party, whatever it is, it's not the same story. It's not the same message.
You need procedures at that point.
Correct. And you need stories and so do you have the right people in the right places, doing the right things with the right messaging? And if there's anything I could derive today from this podcast is if you want to grow your sales today, that is one place I'd start. Go from beginning to end and pretend if you're the business owner, pretend you know nothing about your business. Try to be sold. Try to have a presentation. Try to hear and you'll be amazed. Either your team is going to be spectacular or you're going to hear there's a wrong problem here. There's a problem here. We got to fix this. We have the wrong people here, whatever. What you said at the beginning of this podcast is it costs money. It's expensive.
Yes.
It's only expensive if it doesn't work right.
Well, it's expensive only if it's a cost incurring procedure and not an investment into the growth of your business. And I think that's one of the biggest disconnects. And if I can say something that will sort of be the ethos of this, you like that word, eh? Of this podcast,
Colorful,
very, is that we have to stop looking at sales as a cost, and we have to look at it as an investment.
Oh my God!
And you have to invest in your staff.
Oh God!
You have to develop process and procedure in order to automate. And as business owners, we get too busy sometimes, and we forget. We forget that process is important. We cannot photocopy ourselves. We need to teach what we're doing. We need to teach what we stand for and what we represent as a business. That's your business culture, which again is for another episode. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is this. You need to be able to teach your team what you're selling, because selling in itself is an art form, and you need to identify the right players for your team. Who's your goalie? Who's your forward? Who's your midfielder? Who's your Messi? Who's your Cristiano Ronaldo?
Soccer, But Luis, you said something very interesting. What you're selling, and I'm going to adjust that a little bit, because yes, what you're selling is clearly important. What are the benefits to the client? Absolutely. Well, why? And I think that's something that I almost sound like a preacher. Why do you do it? Why should somebody buy from you? Why? Not what. Okay? We're not selling widgets, screws, and whatever. We're selling a solution. Okay? You're selling something, especially in B2B. If you're talking business to business, whatever. Yes, if you're in a retail store, you're still selling a solution. My favorite, is you ever go car shopping?
Very recent.
Yeah. You know how car salespeople are trained, right? Feature dump. Just dump all the features. The car's got this kind of mileage and it's got this many windows and XM radio and da-da-da-da-da. And they list this whole thing. It's like throwing crap against the wall and hoping something sticks. And you as the customer are going to go, yes, that's what I need.
The Bluetooth.
But Bluetooth. Yeah, the old VCR in the car. Instead of starting from the beginning and saying to a customer, and most customers, not everyone, but most customers, Tell me why you need this car. What is it going to be used for? What are your intentions? Are you good? It's just you? Is it for your family? Are you intending long road trips? Whatever. All of a sudden now, it'll make the sales cycle shorter because
utility. Understanding the utility.
You created a need. You're now delivering a solution. And we don't do that in business. And I think that, and again, we're a little bit all over the place with this one, but I go back to the sales cycle, and here's a story with one of my clients where when I asked her about her sales cycle, and I said to her, when do you ask questions? Oh, I don't. Well, how come? I don't have time. What do you mean you don't have time? The customers don't have time for me. I said, I'll tell you why the customers don't have time. Because you didn't ask any questions.
You're probably giving away free information.
The moment you ask questions and you understand their pain points.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to buy from you, one, they don't want to buy from you. They want to partner with you. But they're going to buy from you. That means they have an incumbent. They already have a supplier. They have somebody, a partner. You're asking them to make a shift. Not a change, not a replacement possibly, but a shift. Why should they shift? Why should they make that move with you? And if you don't understand what is bothering them about their current situation, their current partners, whatever it is, something in there made them want to sit with you. Otherwise, they're wasting time. But they're sitting with you for a reason. When you find that out and you can address it, they'll give you all the time in the world. Otherwise, you have no time. Well, she went out to a client, the first client she went to. It was hilarious. She called me up after. She goes, you're not going to believe this. Our 60-minute meeting went almost an hour and a half. So I said, how come? She goes, we spent 20 minutes on a Q&A, asking questions, answering, addressing this and that. She goes, oh my God, it's like somebody broke the dam. And all of a sudden, all the questions I never knew the answers to, I got. That's what we need to do. So how do you do that with your sales team? Teach them, train them.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, why are we sending accountants and lawyers and all these professionals for mandatory hours as part of an order, part of this? We're not salespeople.
I agree 100%. And I think that is a very unfortunate aspect of the industry. I'm going to tell you that one of the fondest memories of when I was learning how to become a sales rep was understanding the process and the procedure. I remember working at a computer store and me trying to reinvent the wheel every time. And the owner of the company was like, listen, if you know what you're saying, you're being truthful, you're answering the question of the client, you're listening to their needs, and then you're delivering the message, they're going to buy from you because they feel like you understand what they need. They're going to understand that you're looking out for their best interest, not just to sell. And so I made my own script, and I call it a script, lack of a better word, but it was a very interesting, way to humanize and sort of like make Mr. and Mrs. Smith understand what a computer was.
Sure.
I remember going and saying, hey, what are you looking at your computer for? And I would get an answer usually like, browse the internet, the kids need a computer to do homework, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd go and I'd tell them, you had a computer, and then, what is a hard drive? Think of it as a filing cabinet. The bigger the filing cabinet, the more papers you can put into it. They'd be like, oh my God, that's really cool analogy. Then, like the CPU, think of it as your cylinders in a car, a V6 or a V8. Are you going to tow a boat, or are you going to tow it, as an RV, or you're just not going to tow anything? So we would be able to identify what they needed. And by actually spending the 30, 40 minutes to discover their needs and actually be able to inform them and be a good ambassador by educating them, I became the top salesman at this computer store within, I think, a month and a half.
Very good.
And I was a top salesman for a year. And I'm never going to forget that because, we were working for, not much, but a lot of commission.
Sure.
And that changed the game. It made me realize, that sales is more than just, shooting and shooting and shooting. It's about understanding. But again, like you said, there's a role and there is different aspects of sales.
Absolutely. And, it's really funny because one of my fondest experiences when I was in the toy business was when Walmart came to Canada in 95-ish. I think it was 95. And when it was Woolco back or before it was Walmart, we had very little shelf space at Woolco. When they moved to Walmart, same people. And what I was flabbergasted was, and I had just joined the company. It was my first real opportunities to meet the people from Walmart. And I was a kid. I was a punk at 25. And I asked the general merchandise manager, who was very kind enough to give me an opportunity to learn, how come we didn't have shelf space? Like, why were we being left out for the Mattels and the Hasbros and that, which theoretically makes a lot of sense, but they had a ton of space. And he answered me, he goes, listen, there are two reasons. One you can control, one you can't control. The one you can't control is they're buying that space. You're not going to spend that money. Thank you. Gotcha. What you can control is help me to sell more and make more money, and you'll have the shelf space. Hello, now let's talk margins. Okay, what do you need? What do you want? How do you want to do it? He said, he gave me the criteria, and he said, I challenge you to come back to me with a program, and if it meets my needs, you'll get the extra space. Now, you're talking Walmart. You're talking, at the time, only 125 stores, but an order was massive in Canada. Oh, I took that challenge to heart. My boss looked at me, he goes, kiddo, knock it out of the park. This is on you. Went back to them, the program. We forget about hitting a home run. We hit a grand slam that year. The buyer, the general merchandise manager, were surprised we were able to address their needs in such an efficient way. And so I learned early on, I mean, they're the biggest fish you can imagine in retail, right? Like, they're scary. Everybody says they're scary. All I did was ask questions, not even knowing, not understanding. I had no idea what I was doing. But that one question literally changed for us, our business in Canada. And I think that is something that, where do you learn that? And I go back again and again. Business owners, especially small business owners, you're running a business. It's extremely hard for you to also, like I talk about cheap bottle washer or whatever, you can't train the salespeople. Bring a coach. Bring in a trainer. If Tiger Woods, for God's sakes, in his prime, when he was winning every goddamn golf tournament, had a coach, why are we bringing coaches to our salespeople? Are the backbone of our business.
100%.
They're the ones generating the revenue. They're the ones who are going to drive the business. There are ambassadors out there, and you're asking them to do what? Without guidance and training? And with all due respect to sales managers, and I've been there, there's just too much on our plate.
Yeah.
I can train, I can help, but that means I'm not doing something else because my boss wants it. So bringing in a coach, an external person with all that experience can help organize, structure the team, and then really help you reach the heights that you desire. They will see things from a different eye. They will see things from a different lens for that matter. And it's fascinating what you can get out of a good coach. And people say, oh, they're expensive. We don't need a coach. Again, the greatest of athletes of all time have coaches. Your Messi, I'm sure, has a coach, right? To be better. Okay, he didn't just learn that on his own. Somebody helped him and taught him and whatever, right? Then get one for your sales team.
I agree. With that, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Louis.
I'm David.
Please share, like, and click that subscribe button. If only 5% of our viewers do that, that grows our reach exponentially. So do yourself a favor. Do us a favor. Comment, like, subscribe.
Please. And guys, your feedback would be wonderful. As we record future podcasts, we want to know what is keeping you up at night. Hate that cliche. What's keeping you up at night? What do you want to hear? How can we share our experiences with you to make this better? Because again, we are challenging the 5th level. And on that note, let's say goodbye.
Take care. See you in the next episode.
Cheers.